Everybody, welcome back to my kitchen. It's me, Kaitlyn, your geeky girlfriend, and I have some chicken breast that needs used, and we have some potatoes that are looking a little. So we are the potatoes that I thought I had. I actually only had one regular potato, so we are going to do sweet potatoes instead. The first thing that we're going to do is we are going to peel them and cube them, and then we're going to make up a sauce that has a lot of spices. So I will check back in with you guys once all the potatoes are cubed and now, this recipe does call for 8 potatoes. We are using 5, about medium sized. And this is the part of the process that really takes the longest, I think. You're also going to want your oven prepped to 500 degrees, which seems insane, but this recipe really has a lot of steps. So if you are somebody who preps a lot in the kitchen, you could definitely have your potatoes like already cubed and marinating. While the oven is warming up, you can have this done like earlier in the morning if you have time, and then when you actually go to cook dinner, then you obviously could eliminate this step because this is probably, I am not even exaggerating, this is going to take me easily 15 minutes to cube all of these potatoes. And that doesn't seem like a long time, but I feel like it is. You're also going to want to grease a baking dish. Again, these are all things that are just part of the recipe, and I think I found this recipe a really long time ago, like when I was living by myself, so literally 9 years ago. I just wanted something a little bit different. This recipe does have a little bit of kick, but you can obviously tame it down if you are like us and in the throes of baby-led weaning or introducing solids. You obviously could set aside some of the potatoes for your little ones. So you can wedge one of the potatoes and give them, just bake it on its own in a separate pan. Or you can make a side dish, which is what I'm going to do. I am going to make some just baked green beans. I did go for the French cut ones. That way they're a little bit longer and she can grip them. So we're going to introduce those. We did introduce some Tennessee style green beans, so like the flat ones, but she was really, really tired when we tried to introduce them. So they were a resounding no. We're going to maybe get a little bit more of a response today. Some other foods that we have tried. My daughter will be 6 months this weekend, but she actually is a little bit advanced, and I don't say that lightly, but in her motor skills. So like she's been sitting up on her own for probably close to a month, and she is bringing objects to her mouth. So we just kind of followed her signs and cues. And the pediatrician did give us the green light at the beginning of this month. So we have been starting solids, doing a variety of purees and some baby-led weaning style introductions. We are trying to introduce allergens early, and we're also trying to introduce foods like 5 or so times before we mix them with other ingredients. Some other things that we've tried so far, we have tried egg on one occasion, and we need to reintroduce that one again. We've done peanut butter, we have done watermelon, avocado, strawberry, only on one occasion, corn, butternut squash, sweet potatoes, which she loves, and we've done mango, peaches, bananas, and of course applesauce. And so far we've had decent reception to everything. Bananas are kind of iffy. We do not like avocados right now. It's been the only food that we've actually had like an adverse reaction to. And then really, really likes peaches, and bananas, like I said, she's kind of iffy on the banana. She's not too sure what to feel, which I can relate because I'm not a banana person either. And the mango she liked a lot better when we gave it to her baby-led weaning style instead of puree. We did not like carrots, so that's one of the ones that we need to reintroduce. And then strawberry we've only done once so far. Peanut butter she loved, which is great, and like I said, peaches she absolutely loved. So those are kind of her favorites right now. She loves sweet potatoes, like I said. And we're just kind of trying to do one new or recurring food a day. Also, this is definitely not a shortcut kitchen meal. I do like to do something that takes a little bit more time and effort every once in a while. I don't do it all the time, but over the summer, I like to try new things, especially, or cook things that take a little bit more time because I'm home and I have the ability to prep and do all the things. I'm trying to kind of just gauge how many potatoes we're going to need. We might not even need all 5 of these because I don't, like, they need to be in a kind of mostly even layer in your baking pan. All right, so now we're going to make the marinade for the potatoes. So we're going to put all the following into a bowl of your choosing. You're going to take your potatoes, you're going to put them in this mixture and then mix them up. I always just use my hands because it is just easier and quicker. Then we're going to just let this sit while we brown our chicken. So we haven't even touched the chicken yet. We still have to cube it and then we're going to brown it. And then, like I said, your oven is going at 500, just wherever in the process you feel like that is easiest for you to do. We're first going to start off with 1/3 cup of oil. Yes, I know this is a plastic bottle. This is toxic, but I'm going to use this up before I open up my glass bottle oil. You could also sub avocado oil. You could do sunflower oil, whatever you want. I'm just using this because it's open and I want to get rid of it. So that's why we're using it. Then we're gonna do some salt. I'm always just very generous with my salt, but the recipe does call for a 1.5 teaspoons. We're just dropping a pinch, a generous pinch. Because by the time you mix it all up, you're not even going to be able to taste it. Then we have 1 tablespoon of pepper. So I'm going to use my wide mouth thing, and I'm also very generous with the pepper as well. So we're just going to eyeball that. That's about a tablespoon. Then we need 2 tablespoons garlic powder. This I actually am going to measure. Okay, 2 tablespoons garlic powder. As you know, it's easiest just to take the lid off and then you can just measure it out over your bowl so that way anything extra just goes in. It seems like a lot, but well, just gonna go based off what I put in here. Now, you probably could use this same marinade on the chicken. The recipe does not call for that, as we'll see in just a second. But we need 1 tablespoon of paprika. This is where that heat comes in. Whoopsies. It's a little heavy-handed there. So we're going to have a little bit more than 1 tablespoon of that. And then we're also going to do 3 tablespoons of the hot wing sauce of your choice. I'm just using classic Frank's Buffalo. But since we did go a little bit too much of that paprika, I'm going to scale back on the hot sauce just a bit. I'm going to do maybe like 2 with a little extra spillover. So this is where that, and then we're just going to do like a little extra dash, not the full 3 tablespoons because it's already going to be a little extra hot because of that paprika. I like spicy food, but my husband sometimes doesn't. So I have to kind of moderate our spice. But if you were making this for your family and you were trying to be kid friendly, then I would recommend just either putting just 1 tablespoon or scaling back on both the paprika and the hot wing sauce. All right, so now we're going to wash our hands so that way we can mix these potatoes up in. And like I was saying, you can use any hot wing sauce that you prefer. If you like really hot, if you want to use sriracha, if you want to use garlic parmesan, if that's your vibe, if you want to use Cajun jerk or Caribbean jerk, you can pretty much use any hot sauce that you like. We are just classic Buffalo people here, so that's what we're going to do. Okay, now I'm going to take my potatoes and I'm going to put them in this little sauce, and then we're going to mix it up. You can use tongs for this. You can use your hands for this. And if you need more sauce, I have found in the past that just adding just a little bit more oil kind of does the trick to help coat all those potatoes. The goal is to coat the potatoes evenly. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn on my oven, as I have no idea how long it's going to take me to get to 500. Now, I will say I did have to take a little intermission in cooking because I had to give my daughter a bottle. So we're now at almost an hour already. Going to be a little bit behind schedule for that 6:30 dinner time, but that is all right. And we're also pumping right now as well. I do have the Lancino Thrive 2-in-1. It comes with wearable cups, which is what I'm actively using. And then it also has a double electric pump as well. I do have a video here on my channel on how to put the wearable pumps together, and I still have to do the video on how to put the double electric one together. Okay, so this actually made a lot more sauce than I think I thought it was going to. You are going to drain off or strain the potatoes to get the extra sauce off. This is going to be spicy. And you, like I said, can put your chicken in here. Now, another thing that you could probably do is you could probably put the chicken in, like separate the potatoes out now, dump the chicken in the marinade, and then when you fry it, it's going to have that flavor. I think I'm just going to, for tonight's purposes, I think I'm just going to leave the chicken plain when I fry it, just because I kind of want to stick to the original recipe and see how it turns out all these years later, since it has been a while since I've made this dish. So I'm just going to stick to the recipe. Now, once you feel that your potatoes are pretty evenly coated, the recipe does say that you're going to marinate them for 10 minutes. It should be a little bit thick, and if you feel more comfortable, you can mix the sauce up before. I'm just going to set those off to the side. Now we have to get our chicken ready for pan frying because we are going to actually brown that chicken. How you do this is up to you. You can put a little flour batter on it if you actually want it to be browned. I think for my purposes and for speed, I'm just going to put it in the skillet as it is. I'm also going to head and get out this pot. I'm going to be making some green beans as a side dish for this. One, so my daughter can have some, and two, just because I bought them and they're fresh and I want to use them. And I was kind of in the mood for some classic green beans. So this is the pot that I'm going to use them. We're literally just going to put them in some boiling water and like blanch them because I want them to be warm but still kind of firm. And then if I need to like put my daughters like in the microwave or in the oven to get them extra soft, I'll do that. But one thing at a time. But I did get this out while I was down there. And make sure to always wash your hands before handling raw meat. You never know where the meat has been or where, what kind of condition the animal was in before it was brought into your kitchen. So always wash your hands. Things like toxoplasmosis and things like that can be passed down through raw meat. So always wash your hands before handling raw meat and use clean knives, etc., etc. And we are literally just going to cut this into bite-sized pieces, and then we're going to put it directly into the skillet. I think I use stainless steel cookware, but I think I'm just going to put maybe like a little bit of butter if we have it, or even just a little tiny bit of avocado oil, just so it doesn't stick to the bottom. All right, the oven is warm. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next step. While you're browning your chicken, the potatoes can go ahead and go into the oven. So I'm going to spray my pan with this canola oil spray generously. And I'm just going to try and like I said, it does say to like strain off the excess sauce, and which is fine, but that's just kind of annoying because you have to dirty something else. But we are going to try and do it just because you can toss the chicken in it at the end, or, whatever. But honestly, I don't even think I'm going to deal with that. I think I'm just going to go for it because I don't feel like dirtying another dish, and this has already taken us a decent amount of time. So we're just going to plop these potatoes in. We're going to make an even coat along the bottom of our pan. Oopsie. Okay, and then these have to bake for 45 minutes. You are going to stir it periodically. I usually try and stir it about every 15 minutes or so. So that's about how much sauce we had left over, if you guys can see that. So like I said, if I wanted to, I could toss that chicken in there real quick. That's going to make this really, really spicy. So I think for our purposes, I'm just going to leave it as it is. And so pretty much what we're going to do now is we're going to bake these. We're going to brown our chicken, and then we're going to make the green beans as well as a side. And hopefully by the time the chicken is brown, those will be ready to stir. So I talked to hubby. He said go ahead and toss the chicken in the sauce. So that's what we're going to do. And then we're going to put it right into the skillet and cook it up. So we're not going to put any oil into our skillet. We're just going to use the leftover oil from the potatoes. So that's going to use up. And again, if we need a little bit more, I will just add a little bit more olive oil to this. Just going to kind of get this, get a little bit. Hey, this is a good way to clean this bowl. So this may end up being pretty spicy. The last time we made this, we had like really spicy potatoes. But since we use sweet potatoes, maybe some of the heat will be cut down a little bit. So that's another hack. So I will keep you guys updated in the description of the video what we thought of the extra heat of this. All right, we're just lightly tossing that. Definitely going to still have some heat, but not as much. We're going to put this right into our skillet, and our water is boiling for the green beans, so we're going to kind of try and do a couple of things at once here. And again, we're just getting this chicken brown. It is going to go in the oven with the potatoes at the very end. So you're going to bake the chicken for about 10 minutes towards the end of baking of the potatoes. So it is going to get further cooked, so you just need to get it that initial like done, and then it'll get well done when it bakes. All right, next step is we're gonna get the green beans ready. And I bought these French style beans, again, because I was going for something that my daughter could hold. I'm gonna dump them into this strainer, and then we're gonna rinse them, and I'm gonna pick out any of them that are bad. And we also are going to pick out any of them, like we're going to cut off these weird little ends right here. So I typically just grab like a bundle of them, and then I'm just going to make one clean, or as clean as possible, chop. Just to make them all nice and even. And we are just going to immediately dunk these into the boiling water. I'm not adding anything to these because my daughter's going to be eating some of them. So again, we're just going for like a quick little blanch, just a way to soften them up a little bit. And we're going to see how she does with these versus the other green beans. And as I'm cutting them, if any of them are super slimy or have a lot of spots, we're just going to toss those right out. And I don't really mean to show you guys me cutting all these, but also my hands are dirty and I can't pause the video right now, so feel free to skip ahead through this part. And I'll probably add some speed to this in the final edits of this video, so feel free to either skip ahead or what have you. Honestly, a lot of these are kind of slimy, but we're hoping that when they cook up, they're okay. The bad thing about these ones versus the can. And I think it's just that my hands feel slimy, the beans themselves don't necessarily feel slimy. I think just with the oil from the chicken and then the potatoes, like, I think I'm just kind of slimy. And also, no, I am using a different cutting board because we did cut chicken. If it would have just been the potatoes, I probably would have used the same cutting board, to be honest, but I don't want to cross-contaminate with the chicken. And also, I did wash my hands because I didn't want any spice from that sauce to get on these beans. Okay, we're almost done. So far, I've only had to throw out one bean because it was exceptionally limp. That is a nice component of puree feeding, is you never have to worry about the freshness or like questioning the freshness. Because if we're being so for real, eating fresh can be really expensive, and especially when you're paying for her or them or he, them being the children, you're paying for them to throw it on the ground, to not eat very much of it. It can be expensive. So also, I did turn our chicken to low because I was going to prep those beans and I didn't want it to get too done. So now that the beans are in the boiling water, we're literally just going to let them get kind of tender. And I did turn our chicken up a little bit more because I didn't want it to burn and get stuck to the bottom of the pan. So I have had that happen. And now we wait for everything to be done. We've got the chicken and the green beans are just kind of, like I said, they're blanching, they're boiling, they are just kind of roasting themselves. We are stirring the chicken periodically. In about 2 minutes or so, we're going to go and we're going to stir those potatoes. And then after 45 minutes, we're going to, it does actually say, the recipe does say later on after you've browned the chicken, you're supposed to put it in the sauce. So we did that step first. So you put your chicken in the remaining sauce, and then you're going to put that chicken in with the potatoes, stir it up, put it back in the oven for 12 minutes. Then we're going to take it out. We're going to add a layer of shredded cheese and bacon bits on top, put it back in for like 3 minutes, get the cheese nice and melty, and then, and only then, are you done with this recipe. So definitely not a shortcut kitchen tonight, but it's hearty. You've got your meat, potatoes, and we are going to have that vegetable on the side. And I'm a dummy. I threw my chicken spatula in the dirty dishes, so now we have to get out a new one. And we've got the vegetable on the side, and then, we're going to have some heat in this. We're going to have, and you can add like sour cream, you can add green onions after it's all said and done. You can serve this with a salad. You can mash up the potatoes if you want. So there are lots of options for serving. And it is summer, so a great dessert would be a s'more or something like that. So yeah, I will let you know in the description how the spice ended up working out, and stay tuned to see what the casserole looks like at each step. We're going to stir it here in just a second. I will show you guys what the potatoes should look like when they're done, and then also what it's going to look like when it's all done. All right, welcome back. So we had only been in about 25 minutes, and we're like a little bit crispy. So, and we're very able to smash with our spoon. So the potatoes are done. We're going to take the chicken. We're going to rope it in with the potatoes. And I'm actually probably just going to go ahead. I dropped my heat way down to 350 because everything is done at this point. We just need to kind of mix the flavors together. So I'm going to take my chicken, and I did test a couple of pieces of it. And at this point, if you're going to follow the recipe exactly, this is when you would toss the chicken in the sauce. And then essentially you kind of are just cooking the chicken a little bit more. We already tossed our chicken in the sauce, so I'm actually draining off like the extra grease and oil from that because we don't need that. And then I'm going to give this a stir. This is supposed to cook for 10 minutes. I don't even think I want to go that long. I have 18 minutes left on my timer. I think I'm literally going to go maybe 6 or so. And then I'm going to take it back out and we're going to top it with cheese and let it go the last like 5 minutes. And again, I did reduce the heat a lot. But I think if you get your chicken done and your potatoes done, that's all that really matters. So, but according to the recipe, these potatoes were supposed to cook for a whole nother like 20 minutes. Now, I will say I didn't use as many potatoes. Remember, I only used 5, and I used sweet potatoes, which do bake a little bit quicker than regular potatoes. So all of those things could be factoring in to why this is done faster than the 45 minutes. But I'm not complaining because now we get to eat sooner. Okay, so I'm going to just stir this up, mix the chicken and the potatoes together. And shockingly, it looks like we have more chicken. Like, I always try and do like an even chicken to potato ratio, but sadly that doesn't look to be the case here. Okay, there are 16 minutes left on the timer. I'm going to put this back in for 5 minutes. It's at 350. The potatoes are nice and soft. I just want to get that chicken nice and warm and done all the way through. So we're going to do that. And I'm going to go ahead and get out my cheese and my bacon bits. Because again, remember, whoopsie, this is a loaded baked potato chicken casserole. Something just fell behind my oven, so that's fun. And then for baby, I picked out a few of the really soft green beans. And then I probably will throw salt and pepper on mine once I sit down to the table, but I'm not going to do it right now in case she wants a few more. And then we can just leave those plain. All right, I'll show you guys what it looks like in 5 minutes. All right, here's what it looks like. Let me get you guys a good view of that. And we're going to throw some cheese and bacon. Remember, in the shortcut kitchen, we use what we have open. So that's Mexican style. We're going to toss it over the whole thing. Again, optional toppings are sour cream, green onions, which I don't have any of right now. And we're going to use our bacon bits. And I don't want to open a new bag, so we're just going to do that. We're going to let this go for like 3 minutes, and then we're going to be good to serve it up. Oh my gosh, I just realized I forgot to pause the video. So I'm going to have to cut that whole part out, huh? But this is what it looks like when it's all done. So we're going to give it a taste. I'll let you guys know in the description how it turned out. And I'll see you guys next time.